Right now we're in Nepal, and we're in the south of Nepal. It's in a place called the Terai, which is the lowlands, which is all the way at the base of the Himalayas. And I'm here because in the Terai is one of the largest populations of the endangered Bengal tiger. And I'm here to research the Bengal tiger in order to advance some conservation efforts.
A trip to this part of the globe begins with a stop in Kathmandu, a place teeming with life and the exhaust of life. It's packed with cars and motorcycles, trucks and noise, and people. But just a few hours away is another Nepal, and it's not the mountains you might be expecting. It's the lowlands at the base of the Himalayas. Rich, fertile country where a basic way of life is still the way of life. A place where getting around on elephants isn't so rare, even if it is a bit bumpy. It's here in Chitwan National Park, down near the border with India, that we head out with Neil Carter, who's doing his research.
I'm here to study the way that tigers and people interact, because tigers are a globally endangered species, and they're endangered because of human activities. Human encroachment, because people are cutting down forests in order to build agricultural land or develop land. People poach their prey species so they don't have any food. And also people poach tigers for various things, for medicines and for their bones and for skins. So in order to basically conserve tigers, you ultimately need to understand human behaviors. And you need to find out ways to modify them in order to foster those conditions of coexistence between humans and tigers.
The reality is, people live here, tigers live here. They each do different things as they live their lives, and their lives bump up against each other. It's one of the big things Neil is looking at.
People are moving into the area, the population is increasing, they're building new households, they're building new houses, and in order to build those houses, they're having to come into the forest and they're having to get more wood and get more grass in order to feed their cows. And as they do that, tigers are altering their behavior, and tigers are beginning to potentially get into more conflict with people as they're having to move out of the way of all the people that are coming in to collect certain things. So it's sort of an interesting interrelationships between the two systems. And so we're trying to look at where those systems are linking, and then ultimately trying to find a way to reduce habitat degradation, reduce tiger-human conflict.
Walking through the forest with Neil, it's not hard to imagine tigers.
Well, we're looking at the pug mark of a tiger, and we're measuring the width from edge to edge. It's probably the left hind foot of a female tigress. So that's kind of exciting. We'll set a trap here and maybe catch a tiger.
One of the best tools he has is the camera. He and his team of local field techs set out remote cameras to record the comings and goings of tigers.
Well, right now we're going to get together with the field technicians, and we're going to go over some of the logistics of how we're going to set the camera traps. We're going to retrain them on how to use the camera traps, and just kind of talk about how we're going to go about setting them this year. We also have 2 new cameras, and they're same model, but I think they're much better. These are special field cameras, and they have an infrared sensor on them, and it's a trigger, and you can set them up outside 24 hours a day, and they're on the whole time. And if anything moves in front of that passive infrared sensor, it triggers the camera to take photos. So if I were a tiger walking through, I have a camera right here about chest height, but it's angled downward, and then we have another camera over here, a little bit further back to the right, taking photos of both sides of an animal as it walks by. You need 2 to make a trap, a camera trap, especially for tigers. You get a picture of both sides of the animal, and that's because the tiger's stripes are unique identification marks. So if you only get one side, and then the tiger turns around and comes the other way, you might think it's 2 different tigers. But once you know what the stripe patterns are on either side, then no matter what picture or what side you get, you always know that it's that tiger.
And this being a very wild place with very wild and assorted animals, you get a lot of stuff on camera.
Oh, we get all kinds of stuff. We get all the wildlife here. We get civets, we get wild boar, we get all the deer, we get people. My favorite are the sloth bears, only because they're the most curious. And I've got a bunch of pictures of them walking up to the camera and looking at it and then getting a little bit miffed that they're there and then just beating on the camera. And so there was a number of times we've come out and the camera looks like it's been moved and it's got dirt all over it, and I'm thinking, oh, somebody was messing with it and they were trying to take it or something. And then we look at the photos and you can see that a sloth bear came up to it and sniffed it and hit it, kind of batted it with its paw, and that's pretty fun. So this cable is locking to the tree.
These cameras are critical. Using GPS coordinates and images, they record the time and place of the tigers and even the time and place of the people and other animals moving around here.
You have two things happening. You have people doing things and you have tigers doing things. And in order to understand the conflict, you need to understand where the people and the tigers are going, when they're going there, and why they're going there. And if we can understand that better, we can find out ways to reduce the conflict zones or the behaviors in which people and tigers will come into conflict.
The clawing. This is also kind of a territory mark. They do lots of different things.
And let's not forget, tigers are tigers. They are part of this place and have been for as long as anyone can remember, and actually even longer. And sometimes they attack and even kill people and livestock.
They do that from time to time, and in fact here they're doing that more times than they used to do it in the past, and it's becoming quite a concern, and it's one of the issues that I'm trying to address in the research.
One of the places where the lives of people and tigers overlap is the buffer zone. It's a strip of forest that forms a rough, natural boundary between the preserve in Chitwan and the villages outside. An edge of basic villages with kids and animals, human life in this part of the world. Here we have village and buffer zone.
Right. And the buffer zone is a forest, but it's a little bit different than the national park forest. It's really designed to do two major things. It's to supply resources, forest resources, for local people who use the grass for their roofs or for fodder or wood to build their houses. But also it's to be a long-term area habitat for different wildlife. And so they're really trying to do two tasks to try to protect wildlife, but also have a source of resources for people. But you have them living right next to each other.
So I know you've put up cameras in this area you talked about. You've got the people living right here. So when we talk about tiger-human interaction, this is one of the epicenters,
This
right?
is exactly what it is about, tiger-human interaction. So people are coming in throughout the day to collect various resources, but we also know that there are quite a few tigers, mothers or females with offspring, and tigers are right there, and we actually have them at the same place, just separated by several hours. So that's quite interesting.
And I mean, we see there's sort of double fences and stuff, but you said not going to stop a tiger.
Not going to stop a tiger. Tiger can easily jump over that. Not to mention that there are several entry and exit points, and tigers will, roam this area and they'll find each and every one of those entry and exit points. So often they get into conflict because they come out to find something and will take a goat or a buffalo.
People here scared of tigers, aware of tigers, honor tigers?
They are wary of tigers. I wouldn't so much say scared. It's something they've lived with for a long time. It's something they've understood ever since they were born, ever since they've been here. So it's something that they are aware of, but it's not something they necessarily fear. Fear doesn't control their behavior. They still come in and they still get the things that they need.
This kind of a typical village for what you see around this part of Nepal?
Sure. Yeah, this is definitely a pretty typical village. You have various types of households. You have people who need various things for their children and for their livestock.
Living off the land or not?
They are living off the land, but as far as I can tell, it seems like they're living less off the land. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. It's hard to tell at this point.
Hard to tell, because less living off the land could mean less carving into tiger habitat, which is good. But it could also mean less depending on the land, which could mean less use for wild areas and less of an urgency to save these areas. The best bet for the tigers and for this environment seems to be in the balance between the human and natural world.
This is about developing a sustainable system in which people can meet their demands, so they can get the resources that they need, but also being able to protect biodiversity and protect these important wildlife species that people are interested in.
So that life here, life with tigers, is actual life, not the past, not just paintings and memories, not lost.
Mala.